Okay, so first and foremost, Merry Christmas, everybody. I hope you have a pleasant week, and I hope you have a pleasant Christmas. This will be my last video for the week. I'm debating whether I would just come back at the end of the week, or next week, or wait until January or something like that, and come back and start making videos. Because for right now, Christmas week, going to be busy doing other stuff. But okay, so let's get into this. I actually have two reviews for this time around instead of having one. I guess it's a little Christmas present, and I want to give anybody who watches my videos something a little extra. Okay, so I've seen a bunch of movies actually. I'm not even going to list them right now because I got so many reviews, vlog reviews I really want to do. And so, because so many movies come out. And it's funny because there's so many movies that came out later on this year compared to like the summer or something like that. Like there was nothing really big. And I know there's a lot of trailers that's been advertised now. For the 2014. 2014 looks like it's going to be pretty good, hopefully. You got The Amazing Spider-Man, you got How to Train Your Dragon 2, which looks pretty neat. I don't know how that one's going to go. You have the second Planet of the Apes movie, the one with Caesar, and I don't think James Franco is in it. We got Gary Oldman now. So that's going to be interesting, seeing how there's no one there to control Caesar. But this is about Planet of the Apes. This is a prequel, so yeah, you know. Of course, this is going into how they got control of the planet. But anyway, getting off track here, getting really off track. What I want to talk about today is two movies, and that's Fruitvale Station. I think I'm pronouncing that right, and The Butler. And with these movies, they both take place in a different time, but the reason why I'm doing these two is because they're both based on a true story. These are based on true people, true events. And not a lot of movies, I would say there are a lot of movies that have to deal with that, but it depends on how much of it is bullshit and how much of it is real. It's not the Hollywood effect. Like this really happened in this person's life and it was amazing when it happened, or it was tragic when it happened. And both of these movies do really well keeping it centered on the person's life that they're talking about. Kind of like the movie 42 did, but I'm not going to talk about that. Although I did see that movie, I thought was okay. I thought it was pretty good. Could have used a little more sort of meat on its bones, so to speak. And I'll actually go into that in a sec. Okay, so the first movie I want to talk about is Fruitvale Station, and this is kind of a tragic story. This is about a guy named Oscar Grant who was killed in California at a train station. I think it's Oakland, California. And just a really sad event. I remember when it actually happened. It happened on New Year's Day, probably a little bit around after 12 o'clock at night. And when you hear stories like these, you automatically think, let's get the elephant out of the room. You automatically think it's a race issue, or it basically goes to race issue when you think of the African American and the Caucasian scenario that played out at this train station. And when it happened, because I live on the East Coast, so I didn't know anything about what happened, what really went on. I heard it on CNN. I saw the original video, and this actually all connects into how the original video came about. And weird enough, the movie actually starts off with the original video of Oscar Grant when he was shot there on the station. And if you don't know who Oscar Grant is, go look it up before you finish listening to this review. Or even if you watch the movie will basically tell you who he is, and it actually does a really good job. Very very good acting from this guy named Michael B. Jordan. Let me put B there for a second. No, it has nothing to do with the basketball player. This guy is really good at basically portraying the young male that's having trouble letting go of his past or getting to where he needs to go. He wants a different future. He wants a better world. He wants to be a better father to his daughter and whatnot, better father to his girlfriend, and it's just a really sad story and also realistic story about how these guys who, especially people regardless of race, who mostly has something to do with race, but regardless of race, people who have done jail time, and I'm talking about for like a couple of years or so, people who are just going to be branded as a criminal for the rest of their lives, and they have so much trouble trying to get back into society. And it's not like Shawshank Redemption where, we've been on the inside for so long, we don't know how the outside works anymore, sort of thing. These are guys that haven't been in there long. Like I said, probably a year to a year and a half to 2 years, rarely even a year, and they're still struggling to get where they need to be because of this criminal background that they have. And it's like taking keys and holding it over somebody's head. Like say, oh, this is the only way you can get into your house if you can get your keys. But I'm going to make you reach for them. And that's the type of scenario that they go through. And it's very sad because I don't have a criminal record or anything like that, so I don't know how it is for them, especially if you're African American and you have a criminal record. I won't go any further into that, but anyway, yeah. So this is a story about a guy named Oscar Grant. He was shot at the train station, and what the movie goes through, it does something a little different. It does not go through like the whole childhood stage and we watch him grow up and then we go through all that, because a lot of movies that have to do with that today that are based off of people's lives seem to rush through it a lot. They don't really take their time, like say something like Benjamin Button, which I know that's fantasy, but the movie takes its time, and that's what I liked about it. But with this, it actually goes from the morning that he wakes up. So we're basically just getting a day, or probably even 12 to 15 hours of his life. And the movie has to get over, okay, who this guy is, what this guy is like, why would you like this character? And I shouldn't say character because it was a real person. It kind of gives you a feel of what would you think of this guy. The movie has to get his personality across, and it has to do it really well within this certain amount of time. And the movie's actually not that long. It's probably about an hour and 20 minutes, I think. I can't remember the runtime, but yeah, it's not that long. It's a short movie, but it does so well, especially through the actors acting and the people that he interacts with. It does so well getting across like who this person is and what was he like. And what I seen was a guy who was just down on his luck, and he tried to make a difference, but wrong place, wrong time. That's all it was. It's a tragic story of the wrong place and the wrong time. And if you know his story, you know the ending for this movie. And it's very tragic. It actually makes me sad just thinking about it. But going back to the movie itself and how it betrays him. it shows him interacting with people, but it also shows him by himself. And this is why I think the Hollywood stuff comes in at when he's by himself. And there's a part when he goes and he pets a dog, pets like a stray dog. He's at a gas station. He pets like a stray dog. He's like, hey, boy, how you doing? And all that stuff, right? And then the dog gets hit by a car. And it's like they have this, little dramatic scene. And it's like, how would you know that happened? Like most of the movie, he is interacting with other people. And since this is a movie based off his life, you can go around and putting the pieces together like a puzzle while you're asking the people that interact with him that day that he died, or the day before he died. You can just go around and just ask those people like, what was he doing then, and what was he doing this? What was going down at this time? That's fine, because in the majority of the movie, they do cover that by having him interact with a lot of people. And like I say, you can ask these people, they can be accountability. You can ask these people what happened, and what was he saying, and what was he doing, what was his actions like at this time. And that makes sense. But there are just like the scene with the dog, and then there's a scene with him sitting by the beach, and he has a flashback. And it's like, how do you know he was sitting by the beach and having a flashback at this time? Yeah, he was waiting on somebody else, and yeah, he did interact with that person. But beforehand, how did you know he was like out there just staring out at the ocean, and just has a random flashback? Now, during that flashback, he's actually going back to a time when he was in jail, and he met up with his mother, and another character that plays another person that actually plays an important role later on in the movie. But he's like having a little interaction with his mother at the visitors center or wherever that is in the jail, and that's fine. But what would make them go with the idea of making that a flashback? I guess they didn't know where to put that into the movie, and I guess the mother probably told him, I went to go visit him while he was in jail, and this and this happened, and that's fine. But that's so Hollywood, how that they placed the flashback within the time period that he was just sitting down and just by himself, and how can they possibly know that? But I guess it was like, oh, we have nowhere to put this scene, but we think this is a good scene to convey this guy's personality. So we're going to put it anywhere. We might as well put it somewhere. We might as well make up a thing where he's going off by himself and he's going to have a little daydream. So that's fine. It actually does work out, but it still makes you wonder, how do you know that happened? But besides those two scenes, pretty much everything else, he's interacting with other people. He's interacting with his girlfriend. He's interacting with his daughter. He's interacting with his mother and his family, his friends. And these are all people that you can just, ask what happened. You can just talk to and ask, and you can make a movie around this. So I love the idea how the movie kept on track with having accountability for it. So that's great. And otherwise, besides that, like I said, I thought the movie was acted really well. I found everyone to be believable for the most part. This didn't seem like actors acting in front of a camera. These seems like general people just talking, having conversations, real conversations that you can actually believe. Just having fun, interacting with each other, and unfortunately it leads to a very tragic end. And they do show clippings at the end of really what happened. And besides that, it's a good movie. It is. If I had a chance to rate it, I'll probably give it about 3 stars, 3 out of 4. I think it's really good, and it should be looked at. Definitely should be looked at, and it makes you value life so much. It really does, and it also makes you want to bash someone's head in. I never felt so sad and pissed off at the same time. Well, there was other movies that did that to me too, but This one will hold a special place in my heart. I actually still think about the ending, and I've seen the movie about um, almost a week ago, and I still feel as though that it's tragic. It just gets you right here. It really does, and you really feel for this guy and his family, of course, and his daughter that actually has to grow up without him. So, kind of a tragic thing to be talking about, especially during Christmas time. But yeah, that was one of the movies I've seen, and I hope you take something from that little review. This might have went on a little bit too long, but this is going to be a long one, so I apologize for that. Okay, so we're going to go into the next part, which is The Butler, Lee Daniels The Butler, and I'm going to make a quick edit here, and I'll see you then. Okay, so let's talk about the next film, which is The Butler, and this is starring Forest Whitaker, and my God, a whole league of other actors. Seriously, like I just said, it's Forest Whitaker, it's Oprah Winfrey, Terrence Howard, Robin Williams, John Cusack, Alan Rickman, James Marsden. It's crazy. It's ridiculous how many actors they have in here. And they're all, you know, big name actors. You've seen these actors in so many things, like the ones I just named, and you see them do other stuff, and just to see them come together in this movie is really great. It's literally, they got so many good actors. It's a beautiful cast. It's literally a beautiful cast, and you know what? They're all cast well. There's not one actor that seems like they're out of place. Every single actor that they chose for this. It's like a Lord of the Rings. I know I'm like so excited, but it's like a Lord of the Rings as far as like the actors. They chose so many good ones, and they put them in the right roles. Okay, it's been so long since I've seen like a Robin Williams movie, and seeing him in this role, it's just perfect. Like the majority of them, they just make cameo appearances because okay, let's start from the beginning. The Butler is about a guy named Cecil who used to work in the cotton fields of, I guess, South Carolina or something like that. And his father was actually killed right in front of him. Very tragic. And this is based on a true story, too. And so he leaves to go up north, I guess, to find work, to finally get out those cotton fields. So anyway, along the way, he finally ends up becoming an assistant to someone, not mostly an assistant, a butler. I say assistant, but he ends up becoming a butler looking for a job during his time while he was looking for a job. And he basically led his way up into the White House. An associate of the White House actually saw him, and supposedly there are positions that rarely open for butlers, so there was one position available, and just from this guy that works in the White House, just from seeing him serve other people at a bar or this fancy cafe place. I actually don't know where this was, but he's watching him, and he hires him on to be a butler and to work at the White House. And I think he works through 4 presidencies. It's pretty neat seeing how they do have all these good actors for the presidents too. Like I said, Robin Williams, James Marsden, Alan Rickman as Reagan. It's pretty funny, and so cool. It's funny and cool. And from there, there's also another plot going on with his son named Lewis. And Lewis is going through all the civil rights movement stuff. Now, here's where the movie is good. It does what it seems like it does is jump all over the place. But for the most part, it does try to keep a focus, because it's actually telling 2 stories. Like I said, it's telling the story of Cecil, who was the butler, and his son, Lewis, who is the civil rights movement, Black Panthers type guy. So it's showing from like an older person's perspective and a younger person's perspective during the time of the 60s, 70s, and 80s. The 90s is totally skipped over. The early 2000s is totally skipped over. I don't hope I'm giving anything away by saying that. I guess nothing important happened during those times. And me as a 90s kid, it was pretty good in the 90s. So, yeah, going back to that. What I really like is seeing the perspective from two views. Cecil, who of course grew up in the cotton fields, who worked in the cotton fields in the South. You know, he doesn't like the South at all, but he still has this old school mentality where, you know, African Americans or black people should, sure to keep their mouths shut, so to speak. He starts to speak up later on, but I don't think it's because he wants to. I think it's really because of his son and his son's motivation to do the civil rights thing, to actually stand up and fight. They were literally fighting two wars. His father was going mostly with the respective way, so to speak, by being the butler, being nice and polite, and his son was going with the more rough Malcolm X sort of way. But I wouldn't say Malcolm X because he's more of a Martin Luther King type guy, whereas he believes that, you know, we can get it over by loving one another. We can love one another, and then we can all understand each other, and that's what Martin Luther King talked about. But a funny actor who plays Martin Luther King too. It's pretty. If anybody who knows the show, TV series True Blood, you're gonna laugh at that. But anyway, seeing two different. It's like seeing two different worlds. Even Cecil's wife is played by Oprah Winfrey, but not really much is going on with her except that she was an alcoholic and then she recovered from that. That's great. So they mostly keep the focus where it needs to be, and that's on Cecil and his son, which has his little side story going on too. And not only that, he also has another son whose name I can't remember right now. I just seen this movie. I can't remember the second son's name. I think his name's like Anthony or something. I just can't remember. And even the brothers are opposite. One is like a freedom fighter, civil rights movement, Martin Luther King type guy. And the other one's like Army, fight for my country during the time period where a lot of the civil rights movement stuff was going on, and black people, especially at the time, and still now, just going to come out and say it, still think that the country is against them. And for the most part, a lot of people are, but I don't want to go into that. I'm just going to keep it focused on the movie. And the brother, you know, thinks that way. Lewis, he thinks that way. He thinks that, you know, why would I go and fight their war for this country if I'm fighting in my own country, which is a good argument. But the brother also says, you won't fight against your country. I want to fight for my country. He's like, and what is there in, you know, staying here and fighting against people where I could end up in some place like this? And he's like talking about jail, because Lewis goes to jail a lot, and of course a lot of civil rights leaders and people that was part of the freedom movement did go to jail or was killed, assassinated. And that was his brother's argument too. It was like, so what future do I have here? Going to jail, which is a value argument too, because you don't want to go to jail. But I found myself agreeing more with Lewis than anything, and I really liked Lewis. I really liked how he was a fighter, and he wasn't going to stand for the oppression anymore. I really loved that. And his father has more of like an older person perspective. I'm sure some of the older people will probably like where his father's coming from, so to speak. And unlike Fruitvale Station, where you can say whether it's dealing with race or not, whether it was just an accident, whether um, this guy, whether this guy, did that because he was black or not. In this movie, it's more about race, and they say it is race and about family, keeping family together, because Forrest Whitaker, or Cecil, Forrest Whitaker is like working 17 hours a day at the White House because he's the most popular butler there. All the presidents end up liking him. They all gave him something. It's truly amazing. I don't know if the guy still has that stuff. It'd be really cool if he did. And if the family still has those little pins that they get from the president. A president gives him like a little pen clip. It's great. But in this one, some of it is about family. Like I said, most of the stuff that deal with Oprah Winfrey is about her being a recovering alcoholic, but she drinks because I guess he's not home a lot. They sort of throw that in a little later on, and at first you can't grasp it because they don't tell you how many hours he's actually working there, because, like I said, they're trying to bring two stories in here, him being the butler and the civil rights movement, and it kind of seems to move all over the place at some times. But ultimately, thanks to the good acting, it does come together. But I'm so glad that this movie, even though it was called The Butler, wasn't just about a butler, because that would have been boring as shit. Okay, his life in the beginning is great, and up to lead to his children's lives, and I love how they go into that. I love that, but it would have just been so boring if it would have just been about the butlers and stuff and things like that. They do have interesting conversations now. The butlers aren't boring. You have one that's played by Lenny Kravitz, and you got another one that's played by Cuba Gooding Jr., which was also someone else I don't see that much anymore. And I love seeing these actors. I love this cast of actors. And like I said, the conversations are interesting for the most part. I like to see them interact with each other. But like I said, if the movie was all nothing but that, it'll get kind of boring. So I'm glad that it took place during the 60s, 70s, and 80s. This is when the civil rights stuff was going on. We had the Vietnam War, the Cold War, and stuff like that going on. So I'm glad they threw that in there, especially if he's working in the White House and they didn't put that stuff in there. They would have missed a great opportunity. But no, this movie takes advantage of that opportunity, and it does it so well. Okay, I said it is actually all over the place, but it's like going from one segment to another segment to another segment to another segment. It's we're gonna go back to being a butler. Oh, we're gonna go to the civil rights movement. Oh, we're gonna go back to being a butler. Civil rights movement. We're gonna stay there for at least like 10 minutes. Oh, we're gonna go back to being a butler. We're gonna stay there for at least like 2 minutes. It's that sort of thing where it's just like jumping back and forth. The movie's like a fucking zigzag. But like I said, the acting so well that it gets you into every little bit, even though that it feels like it's going into a different movie. These actors sort of bring it right back and give it some closure. And I really enjoyed this film. And I actually think I enjoyed the civil rights stuff more than anything, because that's the stuff I learned about in school, the stuff I researched on my own. So seeing these historical figures, even seeing the presidents was pretty cool, but seeing like these historical figures in the civil rights movement, especially me as a black man, I fucking love it, man. I love it. So I enjoyed Lewis' story more than I did Cecil's story, than I did the whole Butler situation. Not saying that Forrest Whitaker acting was bad or that his side of the story was bad. No, it was really good. I just enjoy the civil rights movement stuff more, and this could easily turn into a film about the civil rights movement. It could have easily just been about his son, and that's how good the film is. You could have just cut out the parts with his father and just easily have it about his son and call it another movie, a civil rights movie, some type of civil rights title, and it will still work. So, overall, I like The Butler. Once again, I would probably give it a 3 out of 4, 3 stars. Really liked it. As far as movies, I liked it more than Fruitvale Station. That's a tough one. Fruitvale Station, I felt more of it here than I did with The Butler. Although both films are good, and I don't usually say this on my reviews, but I recommend seeing them, at least one of them. Whether you're black, white, Asian, Hispanic, it doesn't matter. See these films; they're good. They're worth at least seeing once. And me, I'll probably watch them. Probably watch The Butler again, maybe like far down the line. Fruitvale Station, like I said, it's taking place more in modern times. Even though The Butler does go up to sort of like 2008, I think, and I'm not going to tell you what happened there, but it does go up that far, and it actually starts from 1926, and that's a lot to cover, so I will give them credit for that. They covered a lot, and I wouldn't say a short time, because this movie actually is long, and that's the thing. This movie takes its time, and like I said, I love movies that do that. I know there's like a runtime that you have to do, but if the freaking Hobbit and Lord of the Rings can go on for like 3, maybe seem like 4 hours, then I'm sure those regular movies about someone's life can at least get 2 hours out and still be interesting enough to keep you wondering, oh, what's going to happen next? And The Butler does do that. It takes its time because, like I said, it has a lot of ground to cover, and it covers it really well for the most part. And yeah, I'm glad I saw it. I'm glad I saw both of these movies, and there's nothing more to say. I think The Butler's good. I think it's worth seeing. So yeah, I'm just going to go ahead and leave it here. I hope you enjoy these 2 reviews, and I hope it wasn't too long for you. I will put parts in the description that separates the reviews. So I don't know why I'm saying this now. It's most likely before you get to the end of this video, you're already looking for the next part of the review, the one that you want to see. So anyway, yeah, Butler good, Fruitvale Station good movies. Somebody might get an Oscar for The Butler. I don't know what part of the Oscar will be, whether it's for the writing, the acting, the music, or something like that for the composer or whatever. I don't know who might get the Oscar, screenplay, cinematography, but they need something. They need something for this film. Okay, so yeah, that's it, and have a Merry Christmas, and I will see you in my next video. Hopefully by then I have a better camera than this piece of shit. See ya.